Hello and Happy New Year. Welcome back to Everything Phil Collins. And thank you so much for watching all throughout the year. I feel like we had an exciting year. Towards the start of the year, I felt like there wasn't much happening that I was excited about. And I was working on an album. And so I kind of like had to take a little bit of a break from the channel. We still got some videos out. But as the summer and the fall kicked around, there was just so much to talk about. And now I have a backload of exciting episodes to share with you, some cool products to show you as well. So that's all coming. But I want to talk about like what could be coming. I want to speculate a little bit because there have been some clues that tell us that we are going to get more stuff. And those clues are just the things that we've been getting. So if you look back into 2024, we got the Turn It On Again greatest hits from 1999 was pressed to vinyl. There was an exclusive clear vinyl, and then there was also a black vinyl, just a normal black vinyl. I got the clear version. That was great because I grew up with that CD, and I'm a big fan of like the Phil hits. So to get like a double disc of that was really cool. And I know a lot of record stores needed a Genesis greatest hits on vinyl because so many people were coming in to buy vinyl, and they didn't have that. And so aside from The Last Domino, which is kind of a weird box set. So we got that. Of course, we got the Lamb box set announced, right? And that's going to be coming out soon. And we'll talk about that in a second. We also got the Both Sides box set, which we'll also talk about what that could look like for more of those. So there was a lot of clues. I know I'm missing. There's more other things I think that happened. Oh, of course, the analog reproductions, like all of those things. There was also a really cool, flew under the radar. I need to grab it. It's really hard to find. But there was a cool like sea blue version of, and then there were 3 on vinyl. And so I'd love to grab that. It's probably the 2007 mixes, which I don't have that album. Like a nice loud version, clean version of that album on blue. It's kind of cool. So I'd like to check that out. The Analog Productions reissues did a review of the Selling England one, and I think that there's lots more of those still to come. So let's talk about some of the things that I would like to see. Mostly we're talking about vinyl, but of course, when I say vinyl, I have no issue. I don't collect CDs. I know a lot of you do. I have no issue with some of these projects being released to CD. Why the Both Sides box set wasn't released to CD? The answer probably is because it was. And let's talk about the Both Sides box set that came out in September of 2024. It was basically, I did a review on it. You can go back and look at that. It was basically the album. Now they replaced the 2015, 2016 Take a Look at Me Now campaign, the old photos of Phil, which were really cool, but they replaced them with all the original artwork, which I think is appropriate. So they replaced that. You have the regular album. I don't know if it was I think it was the Nick Davis remixes or remasters from 2016. So it's not, I don't think it's the original. And so we had the album, then we had like some B-sides, and all these B-sides were available, like Don't Call Me Ashley, Rad Dudesky, all that stuff was also available, still is available on iTunes and Spotify and on the CDs they came out with during the Take a Look at Me Now stuff. So the rarities, some live stuff, some demos, the rarities were always available. Not necessarily on vinyl though. And that I think was the big thing, is that this stuff hadn't been on vinyl. It hadn't been in as a big box set, and you could sell it for $150. I liked that box set. I think it was done really well. It was pretty. There's a couple things I would have changed about it. Of course, it would have been nice to have some material we've never heard before. But I think it was just a vinyl. So why don't we get that on CD or future releases on CD? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be doing that. Obviously, they did CD with the new Lamb box set. They did CD version of the BBC box set, which was arguably better than the vinyl because it had more songs. So, but today I want to talk about mostly vinyl. But assume that like I'm happy with everything to go to streaming as well and to go to CD. So let's just start with the Genesis stuff. I talked about the sea blue version of, and then there were 3. I'd like to see more color versions of the albums. Now, I'm not saying you need those. I'm not saying I need those. I think if you have an original pressing or like a second pressing of any of the Genesis albums, maybe you're like, I want to get a second version. I want to get the new mixes so it's a little bit louder and, you know, just to hear something different, packaging in better shape. And so that's kind of what I've done. I have like an original copy of Duke, which is fun. But if you want one that's a little bit like punchier, a little louder on the white vinyl, I have the Rhino one on white vinyl. I also have the yellow Trick of the Tail. I never got the orange Invisible Touch. I should have grabbed that at the time. What else is there out there? I'm totally forgetting. Oh, there was a clear version of Selling England by the Pound, which I have. Like I mentioned, there's the sea blue, like kind of an aqua looking version of, and then there were 3, which is a really good pick. So it's just odd to me, like they've done some of these color ones, but not for all of the albums. So we don't have Trespass, we don't have The Lamb, we don't have We Can't Dance. So to me, it's like, why wouldn't they do, okay, like some sort of yellowy orange shapes, maybe like a really cool, like rando color for Abacab? That could be really cool. Why they didn't do that? White for The Lamb, which would be really cool, or clear, or like maybe charcoal or something. Trespass could be on like a baby soft blue or something. I think that would be cool. Yeah, we don't need them. I think one of the weird reissues we got, this is another one I didn't mention, but they're reissuing all the Genesis on vinyl, but it's like they've always been available on vinyl. I don't really get the logic there. So all the records, I think even Calling All Stations, are getting a repress, but it's just black vinyl and it's just, I don't know. I'm not sure the logic there. So color variants of some of the albums, Phil's done color variants for But Seriously and for No Jacket Required, a couple colors of No Jacket Required. Yeah. Anyway, if I need that record, if I need like a second copy or a newer version, and, by need, of course, nobody needs these things, but if I want a newer copy to go along with like an older copy, then I like grabbing the color versions. They're kind of fun. Here's another thing I feel like is missing from the Genesis world, and that is like reissues. Let's talk about reissues. And by reissues, I don't mean like big, huge box sets like the new Lamb box set, but just like an actual like new mix on new graphics, or like reprinted, like a new copy. We don't have that of Three Sides Live, do we? There's a lot of live albums I feel like haven't been redone. I know Seconds Out has been done, but why don't we have that of Three Sides Live? Am I wrong? Like, I see Three Sides Live everywhere in record stores, mostly the American version because I'm in North America, which has the fourth side of B-sides. I recently got a beautiful copy of the UK version, which has the older tracks on side 4. I also stumbled across this super weird dark green version of Three Sides Live. Anyway, that was cool. Anyway, they haven't reissued that one. Like, they haven't just made new copies of it, which I think is weird because, like, if you look at the catalog of like records that are made new, there's Serious Hits, there's new versions of that. And by new, I just mean like, I don't know if it's a different mix. I think it is. But, and of course, the Abbey Road mastered version of Seconds Out is out there. But it's just like my copy of Seconds Out, or sorry, my copy of like Three Sides Live is old, like it's the jacket is frayed. And so it'd be just nice to get a brand new copy of that album, maybe on color vinyl too, like maybe on white or clear vinyl would be cool. So I don't know why they've never done that. That's a great album. A lot of people love that album. And I think the same is true with Genesis Live. I don't think there's been a modern day repressing of that album. I could be totally wrong, but I don't think there is. I mean, going back to those box sets they did, I really don't think they did the live albums. And again, I could be wrong, but Seconds Out has been done. So why not the other ones? That's something I think that could be done by Concord or whoever. And throw in there too, like The Way We Walk. The Way We Walk should be done, both versions. I mean, The Way We Walk longs on vinyl is very hard to find. So why not that? And then the biggest thing that I think a lot of people have asked for is When in Rome, or what is it called? Like Live Over Europe, whatever. The 2007 tour, beautiful set list. Everybody's sounding great. The sound is great. That would be an awesome one to have on vinyl. Please do that. Okay, another thing we'll probably see more of is anniversary editions. So 2025, well, there's nothing really from Genesis that was released in 1975 or 1985 other than Touring or 95. So we're not going to really come upon a pretty obvious anniversary. I guess maybe we could say the 45th anniversary of Duke. But that's not a really obvious number. We could say the 55th anniversary of Trespass. That's not going to work. Yeah, I don't really see any like obvious anniversary date, but I think we go over to Phil Collins' solo stuff. I think that's where things maybe make a little more sense. I would bet money on seeing a No Jacket Required. No Jacket Required will be 40 years old this year. It probably already is. So if they've been working on the both sides box set for any length of time, and remember, this was driven by Concord. Concord really only came into possession of everything in the past year to year and a half. And so I feel like now they'll really start to rev up these things. Both Sides is probably one of the weirdest albums to start a box set with, an anniversary edition. It wasn't a well-loved album. It didn't do incredibly well commercially, definitely better than Testify or Dance into the Light, and I love it. And I'm glad they did it. But to me, like if you do a box set like this for Both Sides, there's no doubt in my mind that you'll do one for No Jacket Required, like one of his biggest, absolute, most loved records. So we're kind of coming up on that, doing a 40th anniversary of No Jacket Required. So I think we'll see that. I honestly think we will see sometime this year, maybe if they follow the same schedule and do it for quarter four, like released in September, October for the Christmas season. I honestly think we'll see a No Jacket Required box set that looks exactly like the Both Sides box set, meaning the same box, the same amount of discs, following the same format. Now, as I mentioned in that Both Sides video, that is a box set that could do really well because there are some demos that you could do, but also there is like a double disc live album of taking the audio from the Dallas show, the No Ticket Required laser disc. We could take that audio and press it to vinyl. I have that, a bootleg of that, or actually it would be, I don't know if it's a bootleg or it would be like a counterfeit version, but it's an absolute prized possession of mine. Anyway, that could be due. You know what would be another great thing? It'll be the 35th anniversary of Serious Hits. So Serious Hits Live, they've already repressed that, but gosh, like, are there some other tracks? There are, right? There's the Berlin show. They could release the whole Hand in Hand, the slow version of Doesn't Anybody Stay Together, Inside Out. There's a lot of tracks on there that could be included. So I don't think we'll see that. I don't think they'll celebrate the 35th anniversary, maybe 40th. I'm pretty much just saying I think this year it'll be No Jacket Required. And then next year, I mean, if they keep this Both Sides style box set going, it could be No Jacket Required in 2025, which would be the 40th anniversary. You could do Dance into the Light, which would be the 30th anniversary of that album in 2026, the following year. There's always unreleased live shows. Like I mentioned, an official pressing of the No Ticket Required, the No Jacket Required tour. There's no official release of Perkins Palace. There's no official vinyl releases of stuff like the Invisible Touch tour and so many like great tours that you could do a live album for, a live compilation, perhaps. I don't know if Concord is going to go down that road. To me, the low-hanging fruit of releasing Both Sides box set, which was already mastered and in existence from the Take a Look at Me Now era, basically just repackaging all of that material and selling it for $150. I just think that's probably the more low-hanging fruit than digging through the archives and doing something different. I think this Lamb box set, I don't know, it seems to be driven more by Tony and Peter, perhaps Concord. I don't know. I don't know, like that, because that seemed to be digging a little bit deeper for material. So if they do, that'd be great. I mean, are there wild cards out there too? Are there releases that like would just kind of surprise us from the Genesis camp? I thought the Turn It On Again Greatest Hits was a wild card. I thought that was a vinyl release I never saw coming. I thought, if anything, they would do what Phil did, which would just be create a new Greatest Hits package. I think the reason that they did this was because there wasn't any new songs. Whereas with Phil, in between 1998 hits, he would have had all the Disney stuff. So, and Testify as well. So I get why he did a new Greatest Hits, but it wouldn't make sense for Genesis to do a new one. So that was kind of surprising. Even like the Live from the Board, that new record that came out, an official release, which was some kind of bootlegged, or they're not bootlegged, but they were soundboard recordings from, I think, the Both Sides tour. It was a weird release. I never picked that one up, but that was a Record Store Day release. So I think they could do more of that. Some wild card. You tell me, leave in the comments, like, are there some wild card CD or vinyl releases You want to know what's a really wild card release? Would be some stuff on cassette, like reissuing cassettes, brand new cassettes. For us nostalgic people who maybe grew up with Phil Collins on cassette and late Genesis stuff on cassette. I mean, the era of No Jacket Required and But Seriously and We Can't Dance, that was like very cassette heavy. Even Shapes was very cassette heavy. Probably most of the copies of But Seriously that were sold were probably sold on cassette. I think that would be super wild card to kind of reissue some of those. Not huge profit margins. I mean, you can make them very cheap, but you can't sell them for a lot. I mean, Taylor Swift sells her tapes for like $25, $30 maybe. So you maybe could, but vinyl is just, when you do these big box sets, the margins are really, really good. I mean, like there's some official releases out there that would be so nice to have on vinyl. Something like Love Songs, the Love Songs compilation. I recently got that on this really cool double disc or double tape. Like, it's like a box that holds two tapes at once. But yeah, that'd be kind of interesting on vinyl. I could see people buying that in a record store or at Target for their dinner parties. I would love that. 12ers as well. That's hard to find on vinyl. That would be kind of cool. All the remixes from No Jacket Required. I'd love to see that done on vinyl. That's a great record store day release, in my opinion. I hope Concord's watching this. I hope you're getting some ideas from me. There's my most coveted product, the thing I've been looking for in record stores forever, and it's impossible to find in North America, is The Story of Genesis. I know a lot of you have that. It kind of looks like Seconds Out a little bit. It's basically just like an early greatest hits album. I think it's from like Wind and Wuthering and prior. And I really want that album. It's not hard to find if you go online to Discogs and pay for it. It's a Japanese release, I believe. But I want to find it, or I just want to get it in a more intimate way. So we'll see. I mean, they could do a B-sides of Genesis too, like just a standalone release that has You Might Recall, it has Vancouver, it has Do the Neurotic. They could compile all of those and release them on vinyl. It wouldn't be the first time. All of those records were on vinyl. Those songs were on vinyl at some point on a 7-inch or a 12-inch. What about solo artists? I think we're going to see an album from Mike and the Mechanics. I hope it's not like a weird reissue, truncated new material, reissued material. I'd love to see just a new album. I mean, to think that guy making new music today, the same guy who wrote Follow You, Follow Me, Turn It On Again, The Living Years, All I Need Is a Miracle, to have him do something brand new would just be really, really welcomed. So they do a new release, that would be awesome. Same thing for Tony. If Tony wants to reissue some of his old stuff, if Mike wants to reissue Small Creeps Day, that's long overdue. He knows that. And they talked about it recently on a radio show, which is good to have people talk about that. That's an album that needs to be reissued. Speaking of reissues, I think Ant Phillips is working on reissuing his stuff on vinyl, especially the first two records. That could stand for a big special release, a color vinyl, in my opinion, maybe a remaster of some sort. I did a review recently about this cool Birdie box set, and in it, I was talking about how it's surprising that Buster has never been reissued. Like, it's just never been reprinted. They reprint soundtracks all the time. And I know some of you are like, well, Buster, the soundtrack's not that popular. The film wasn't popular, but it's Phil Collins. Has Phil Collins on the cover. That record sold a lot. I mean, you can find that on cassette and vinyl and CD everywhere. Like, they sold a lot of those records. And it was nominated for an Oscar, Two Hearts. And Groovy Kind of Love went to #1. So not to mention Loco and Acapulco, which is insane. But yeah, it's kind of surprising that that's never got a reissue. We also don't have a Disney reissue of Brother Bear. We have multiple reissues of Tarzan, which is great. Brother Bear, nowhere near as good or as popular as Tarzan. I don't really listen to Tarzan very much, but and I think I would listen to Brother Bear way less. I recently got it on cassette from Indonesia, which was cool. But yeah, I think Disney's kind of due to release just Brother Bear on vinyl. Just do it once, and some of us completists will grab that. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you would love to see released on vinyl, on CD, on digital, on cassette maybe. I think there's so much they can do. The good thing is we know that Concord is doing things. Are they doing them right? Not necessarily. Are they doing them exactly the way we want them to do it? Not necessarily. Are they expensive? Sure, but at least to me, there's movement happening. I love seeing Phil and Genesis social media page populated on a regular basis. It's just, I do not want this era of music to be kind of forgotten with older generations. It's nice to see new stuff popping up online. And I gotta, this is why we have the Patreon, because I need help to buy all of this stuff. My kids didn't get any Christmas presents this year. Instead, I just showed them the new Both Sides box set. And I'm just joking. They would kill me. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you would like to see released this coming year. Oh, did I talk about analog productions? I did a little bit. Yeah. There's still some of those to come out, right? There's still Abacab and Shapes. I think I've yet to see maybe Nursery Crime as well, or Foxtrot. Anyway, thanks for watching.